I think one thing I thought was really cool was Loyola Chicago. They knocked off. They upset Illinois, number one seeded Illinois.
And they did it in style.
Did it in style.
Did it in style.
But sister, and I can't think of her name right off the top of my head, but they have a sister that she's well known to go.
Like Mary Catherine or
something like that. Mary Sue or whatever. But she goes to every time they're in a tournament, she goes, she's in attendance, and it's a big deal. Well, this time there was a big thing with, are they going to be able to get her there? I think she was kind of a little under the weather before the tournament. And then with COVID, do we want to have her there? Do you want to, So
right,
she was there, you know what I mean? And she was able to witness it. So that was kind of cool, I thought.
Sister Jean. That's Sister Jean.
Sister Jean, okay.
Sister Jean.
Shout out to Sister Jean. For being a gamer.
So my highlight comes from that game too, right? But mine was, and I'm going back and forth with Los during this game on text. It was the center play. It was their center, Krutwig, who is experienced. He's a senior. He's one of two players they still have on that team from the last time they were there. And watching him just do work against Cochran, who, coming in, was a beast. He had manhandled everybody. And so it was kind of the last time I saw them, Illinois had played Iowa, and Cochran wasn't having nothing but success. He was just dogging him, and it looked like, oh, okay, yeah, he's a beast. This dude's unstoppable. But to go in and see a fundamentally sound big man like Krutwig, just from the passing to the footwork and positioning for rebounds, the box outs, to getting his own offense off, just did damage. And I thought, man, this is what makes the tournament great. Is I don't care what school you go to, player, you got to get in there and you got to own your time and your spot. And I thought that Loyola game was also a really, really great moment.
Definitely. Yeah, I thought about you during that game because I thought we had mentioned that one conversation about some of these smaller schools, Loyola, Abilene Christian, some of these schools, they've got juniors and seniors and sometimes fifth-year seniors playing. So they've been in the program for years and a little more experienced in tournament play and things like that. And a lot of these bigger schools, Illinois, Texas, Florida, Ohio State, they've got freshmen and sophomores. So, I think that's what we saw with Krutwig. You know what I mean? Here's a senior. He's been here so many times before. He might not be the standout blue chip guy, but the dude could play ball. And that's what he did. You know what I mean? So,
did his thing nonstop, yeah, no doubt.
Definitely.
So with what came out of the first weekend, what are you looking forward to?
Man, I want to see what Oral Roberts is going to do. Let's see how far Cinderella can dance, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I'm not a hater. They did it. So, okay, that's actually my team. That's who I'm riding with now. Oral Roberts. That's what I do, man. If my team is not in it, then I just ride with the Cinderella to see how far they can go. It makes it interesting for me. You know what I mean? So, we'll see.
Wow.
I'm not sure who they got next. They're in the Sweet 16. I'm not sure who they got next. But,
are you? That's a stretch.
I'm not saying I'm putting money on it. I'm just saying I like to be entertained. Let's see how far she can dance. That's all.
I think so. It's funny. My brackets have been basically busted since last weekend. I mean, I still have two teams in it. I have Illinois, not Illinois, but I have Michigan and Gonzaga still going.
Okay.
And I still think it's going to be hard for anybody to beat Gonzaga. But again, when you actually get, and that's because they got experienced players too. So, it's not going to be that big of a mismatch.
It's funny.
But
go ahead. My bad.
No, what I was going to say, but like you, I'm looking at a smaller, maybe not smaller, but under-recognized school. I'm looking for Loyola to go to the Final Four, and I wouldn't be mad to see an upset.
I could see that. I think it's funny though. I think with Michigan, I think they're the only Big Ten team left. And coming into the tournament, the Big Ten was the conference.
They have like 9 teams in it.
Oh man, I mean, you figure between
9 of the 10
Ohio State, Illinois, and Michigan, pretty much somebody was looking for all of those teams to go to the Final Four or Elite Eight. You know what I mean? All of those teams were supposed to go far, and in the first round, like everybody's gone. between the first and
Purdue
second
was
round.
supposed to get to at least the Sweet 16.
Purdue was
You
supposed to
know,
make some noise. Yeah.
Rutgers was supposed to make noise. I mean, the upsets were endless. It seemed like every time you turned on, somebody was getting upset that was supposed to be, go much further than what they did.
Definitely.
And that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Keeping it we're not going to keep it moving yet, but keeping it kind of in the context of March Madness and of the tournament, there was a debate thrown out. You've got the young bloods versus the blue bloods, right? Kind of so to speak. So you're used to seeing those blue chip teams, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, Kansas. You're used to seeing those teams stick around, go further, and instead, what we have is you've got Abilene Christian, you've got Ohio, in it. And they upset, a couple teams. You have these smaller schools making noise. Do you think it's better that way? Do you think having a way? I mean, frankly, the Pac-12 is shocking everybody who isn't on the West Coast, which is another conversation altogether, because I think there's a bias built into the way the media covers things. They love those conspicuous bigger conferences. They don't give the Pac-12 as much love for whatever reason. But the Pac-12 has 4 teams still in it and playing exceptionally well. So it's the Pac-12 and it's the young bloods. Do you think that makes March Madness that much more exciting, or would you rather see Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas, those guys in it?
I've always been one that I mean, that's, to me, that's what I think the magic of the NCAA tournament is I think it's because that everybody goes crazy over it, even people that aren't basketball fans. And I think that's why, because at any given time, any team can get in. And if you get in, you can win. You can win. It's been proven time and time again. Now, your Dukes, North Carolinas, your perennial powerhouses, Kentucky's, more times than not, they're going to be there. But it's not out of the ordinary for an Oral Roberts to find themselves in the Sweet 16. VCU has done
Right.
it. George Mason's done it. Butler did it. I mean, it's been done time and time and time again. And I love it. Personally, I think that makes it more exciting. And I think you can almost count on a 16 seed beating a 1 seed at least once every year. You know what I mean? You can count on it. So, I mean, it's like, I think that makes it so much more exciting, because you can't just take for granted certain things. You can't just take for granted that, okay, I'm not going to watch until the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. No, you better watch on night 1, day 1, because that might be the last time you see them. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that makes it very exciting. Definitely.
Yeah, I would love to see it continue. And I think it's kind of an indictment against the one and done guys out there, right? Because you have all these schools that go after the one and done guy, but to really enjoy March, to play in March, to me, this year is really kind of a throwback of sorts when you see people like the Crutwigs out there, who he's been there, and wanted to get back to it. You hear statements like, "Hey, this is one of those things that just gets more fun each round you play." That kind of stuff. The experience of going and knowing I can do this, but when I'm done doing it, if I stay 4 years, when these 4 years are over in college, I'll never do anything like this again. The craziness of what your fans are all about. It's the bracketology. It's all of that creates such a buzz around this season. And any fan of college basketball is paying attention to what you're doing on any given day that games are being played. They're flipping from True TV to TBS to TNT to CBS. They're catching the games where they can catch them. They're texting. They're checking their apps. There's a connection about it. And to your point, when you create the parody that we're seeing now, it's even more fun, right? Because you get these other stories. It's the stories of longtime coaches whose families, when you see their wife and their kids in the stand and they're covering their faces and the drama, it is real theater, man. It's sports theater at its best. And I couldn't imagine if it was the same monotonous narrative that we get every year. Sure, I'm sure it could be somewhat exciting, but I don't think it would be nearly as exciting as it has been.
Yeah, I think it's cool, man. It's funny because when you get down to it, it really celebrates college culture. That's what you're celebrating. the one and done schools, the guys that are one and done, that's great and everything, but they're on a different plane. They've got a different
They
agenda.
are.
They're on a different program. You know what I mean? So, and everybody knows that. But I think when you look at the statistics, statistically, most of the kids that go play college ball are not going to the league. I mean, if you're just honest with it. So this is really cool for them. They deserve to be celebrated like this. The guys that are not blue chip prospects, the guys that might have to go play overseas for a few years and come back and really grind it out if they want to try to make it to the league, and the guys that are just gonna, hey man, this is fun for now, and when I'm done, I'm gonna go, work in whatever field I got a degree in. They deserve to be. Let them celebrate. Let's celebrate their athleticism, and let them have the moment. You know what I mean? And because let's face it, John Wall and AD and those guys when they was at Kentucky, yeah, great, they won, but they have plenty of other moments coming in the limelight. Let's let Crutwig get his time. Not saying he won't go to the league and do anything, but let's let these guys from Abilene Christian have their moment. Let's let these guys from Oral Roberts and any other school. Let's let them have their moment, man. Let them have their time. I think it's really cool.
So I'll give you one more tidbit from this, and this is on the other side of the winning and losing. Coaching. I was shocked. Some of those upsets, man. I looked at the coaching. I mean, it wasn't just the players and what they did on the floor. I looked at the poor coaching decisions being made by some of these coaches on the teams with great programs. They were the favorites coming in. It made me question how some of these coaches are ending up in these prime positions.
Well, some of these teams did not have the firepower that they normally have. And so it's interesting when you don't have the talent. I've always said you can gauge a good coach by what he does with minimal talent, right? So, at Kentucky they had a great thing going, and I'm not saying anybody's not a good coach, but man, when you got every top prospect coming through there every year, it's hard not. You don't have to do much. You don't have to do much, but when you don't, then you got to really, you got to sharpen up your Sharpie.
Yeah, but so I'd heard this discussed a couple of years ago, and I won't mention the school it was in relationship to, but there was a coach who I can't remember what SEC school he was at the time, but he was an assistant at an SEC school, and he ends up coming to another program in another of the Power 5 conferences, and with him came one of the top 5-star recruits, obviously in the top 10. ESPN's top 100, he was in the top 10 of that list. And he brought with him another player. So 2 of the top 10 players came with that coach. And it was said that the relationship was forged while they were on the AAU circuit. And so because that's where one of the players or both of the players wanted to go, ideally, if he was the coach, it was right. I wasn't in the conversation, so I don't know if that was actually what was done when they negotiated contract. But that was a lot of the scuttlebutt, right? What validated that to some degree in most people's minds is that when those players moved on and chose to enter the NBA, that coach moved on.
Okay.
And went to another program in another Power 5 conference. And it made me wonder if some of these coaching decisions that are being made, because of reasons like that, you end up with programs where, yeah, they get you to the dance, but they can't get you, when you face real solid talent with real solid coaching, they're ill-equipped. And I saw coaches, man, of really strong programs ill-equipped to respond when the pressure was on and adjust their game plan. And I look around, I'm like, you got the athleticism. It seems like you got the talent. The basketball IQ seems to be reasonable, except that you can't get these guys to make the adjustments in game to being defended differently, to having to face a different type of offensive scheme than you obviously prepared for. And it didn't seem that difficult. Like as a fan, you're looking and you're like, why aren't you shifting your defense from a zone to man? Like, why, if a fan can see that, why aren't you doing that? Now, maybe you don't, maybe those guys are too slow. Maybe they're going to get into foul trouble if they go man, but it just didn't seem like the coaches could do it. And I'm thinking, you're coaching a team of a Power 5 conference with an All-American candidate who seems lost. That to me was one of those things, right? Dun, dun. And it shined more glaringly because at the end of the game, it's the players who take the heat. The coach, except for in Kansas's case, the coach isn't there taking the heat.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely. That's definitely something to look at because I mean, the coaches, they're playing a different game than the players. You know, everybody's playing their own individual. Everybody has their own hustle going on, right? So some people are getting education out of it. Some people are using it as a springboard to the next. Some coaches are using it as a springboard to the next level or to the next gig. So, I mean, it's everybody's hustling, man. Everybody's hustling.